The son watched as the nurse took a small medal from the pocket of his father's coat in the hospital room. In that family, they had always said his father had never been to war. The medal proved what had been hidden from him for decades. He stood in the doorway. His right foot rested on the line in the floor, as if crossing that boundary meant stepping into another version of his own life. The room was plain. A metal chair, a small table with folded papers, the low sound of the monitor beside the bed. His father slept facing the wall. The coat was folded over the chair. The nurse placed the object on the table without looking back and left. The son didn't move closer right away. He waited a few seconds, as if the medal might move on its own. When he finally stepped inside, he picked up the medal carefully. It was cold, heavy for something so small. His father's name was engraved on the back. In that family, the past had always been told in pieces. He grew up hearing that his father was just reserved, that he had come back from a distant job different than before. There were never questions. There was never space for them. He placed the medal back on the table, left the room without waking his father. In the hallway, he leaned his back against the wall and stood there, unmoving, until the air felt enough again. That night, inside his car, he photographed the medal under the dim dashboard light. He didn't write anything when he sent the image. The reply came a few minutes later. It was a real military decoration, given after combat. Nothing about the object was accidental. The next day, he returned to his father's house. He didn't turn on the lights. He knew the path to the hallway closet without looking. The boxes were exactly where they had always been. No one had touched them in years. He opened the first and found old receipts. In the second, letters he didn't recognize. In the third, a photograph. His father in uniform, standing beside 3 men. 2 of the faces had been crossed out with black ink. The marks looked more recent than the photo itself. He was holding the image when he heard footsteps behind him. His aunt stopped in the hallway doorway. She reached for the photo in his hand. He stepped back. She said he wasn't meant to see that. She said his father had come back in a way that couldn't be explained. The words hung in the air, unfinished. Her reaction gave shape to the silence. It wasn't the absence of a story. It was a decision. Later, he opened a drawer he had never opened before. Inside was an old medical record. The paper was folded into quarters. The note was short. Combat shock. No details, no date, no place. At the hospital, an old neighbor showed up. He stood beside the bed for a few minutes, speaking quietly. He mentioned the nights his father would wake up screaming. The times the family would lead him back inside before anyone could see. The son had never heard any of that. The next afternoon, his aunt called him outside the room. She pulled an envelope from the bottom of her bag. The envelope contained a folded letter written after the war. The letter spoke of a place he couldn't leave behind, of men who never came back, of a scene that returned whenever he closed his eyes. There were no names. There were no dates. It still wasn't the whole truth. Days later, while picking up clothes at his father's house, the son found a forgotten military record at the bottom of a drawer. The paper was wedged between old manuals. The document confirmed that his father had taken part in a mission in which civilians died. It didn't say how. It didn't say why. When he showed the record to his aunt, she didn't deny it. She said they had hidden it so his father wouldn't be reduced to that moment. She said silence had seemed easier than living with what he had seen. That night, the son returned to the hospital with the medal in his pocket. He entered the room quietly. His father was awake. He placed the medal on the table. He didn't ask questions. He didn't ask for explanations. His father looked at the object for a few seconds, then closed his eyes. His voice was low, an apology that didn't ask for an answer. The son remained standing there, He didn't move closer to the bed. He didn't touch his father. The monitor kept marking time. Someone passed in the hallway, pushing a metal cart. He took a step back, then another. Stopped at the doorway, looked at the man in the bed, then at the metal on the table. He left without closing the door completely. The hallway remained the way it had always been.